Before I begin this video and talk about what the title suggests, I just want to mention that in the event YouTube were to terminate my channel, I have other social media pages that you should definitely follow. And let me just show them to you right now. The best place to go if YouTube took down my channel would be my Twitter at Ethan Suto right here. This will be linked in the description below. I also have a Rumble page, as you can see here, which will also be linked in the description below. And then I also have an Odyssey, which will also be linked in the description below. As you may have watched my previous video, the purpose of this channel is to discuss the case of my grandfather, Stefan Suto. My grandfather was killed by 3 physicians, and one of those physicians, of whom we will be speaking of in this video today, is Dr. Carrie Madej. In short, without going into too many details, Dr. Madej injected my grandfather with 21 milliliters of hydrogen peroxide in 500 milliliters of dextrose. She also prescribed this treatment to him for it to be given to him 5 more times, and she also nebulized my grandfather with a formula of 2 milliliters of hydrogen peroxide to 0.5 milliliters of water. I'm sure a lot of questions spring to many people's minds when I say this, and I will definitely be addressing a lot of these types of questions in future videos to come. However, to continue keeping things short, let me just say this. I in no way am currently defending the use of hydrogen peroxide as an intravenous IV therapy, especially with what I now know about it. However, it is the truth that intravenous hydrogen peroxide is being given in many clinics throughout the United States as this video is being made and as you, the viewer, are watching it. Which leads me to say that the dosing of hydrogen peroxide that Dr. Madej gave to my grandfather in the IV was, I believe it was more than 80 times stronger than what is normally used when a patient is given intravenous hydrogen peroxide. So aside from the fact that Dr. Madej defrauded the family and defrauded my grandfather by telling us that this dangerous therapy, if you can even call it that, was safe and effective, Dr. Madej overdosed my grandfather on intravenous hydrogen peroxide. Here's a doctor of pharmacy named Liz Thompson, who was recently interviewed on my mother's channel, explaining it in much better detail than I can.
IV hydrogen peroxide therapy is considered controversial and risky. IV hydrogen peroxide therapy, from my query, has been used since around the 1920s. The contemporary pioneer of this therapy is Dr. Charles Farr, and he had a clinic in Oklahoma City. And I'll just go through his protocol, and we can compare that with former Dr. Madej's protocol that she used. Now, let's compare that with the concentration that was used on your father-in-law. All right, so we'll do the same calculation. Our starting volume is 21 milliliters. Our starting concentration is 3%. Our final volume is 500 milliliters. We're solving for the final concentration. So 21 times 3 is 63. And then you divide that by 500 and you get 0.126%. Now, in order to determine how much stronger this is, we'll take 0.126% and we'll divide that by 0.0015 and we get 84. So what she used was 84 times stronger than Dr. Farr's typical protocol.
I will be going into much more detail about the exact treatment, if you can call it that Dr. Madej gave to my grandfather. However, for now, and for this video, I want to focus on something different. And that being, it has recently come to my attention that Dr. Madej has denied there being any case against her. She has denied the accusations that our family has put against her, and that she has denied there being any legal proceedings against her at all. Let's play the clip of Dr. Madej doing this.
There was something with the OSC and the DEA that they'd stopped you from practicing as a doctor. Is that just in the US, or are they now trying to block you from practicing anywhere?
No. I gave back my license. I actually wrote to them as a daughter of God, American free woman, grantor of the original jurisdiction and its beneficiary. Yeah. So they were coming after me even for misinformation, escalating it like others. I'd had it. Yeah. And I also said that I have the Bible as my reference, and I would still practice my ability to heal people as in the example of Jesus and the disciples, meaning, in those ways. So yes, there's rumors out there and false information saying they took away my license. They did not. I gave it back. And also rumors that I hurt somebody, and they're all fabricated. I did not do any of those.
Is this Stephen Suto?
Yes, that is false. Yeah. I did not give that man what they said they did. There is no case against me. They filed papers, but there is no case against me. I don't have anyone representing me. There's no settlement. I don't have signatures on any of those papers. And I've had to pray about what to do. And the answer was just do nothing, to be still.
Carrie Madej is a pathological liar, and this is another one of her many lies. Because, ladies and gentlemen, lo and behold, the lawsuit that our family filed against Dr. Madej. So I will be going over some parts of this lawsuit. You can see this is a real case in the 9th Judicial District for the state of Tennessee. And you can see here the estate of Stefan Suto, filed through my mother, Yana Sitova Benoon. Stephen Benoon and Yana Sitova Benoon, both individually citizens and residents of Morgan County, Tennessee, as the plaintiffs, and the defendant, Carrie Lynn Madej. You can see that our attorney requested a 12-member jury to hear this matter. So let's go through some of the complaint, because, a lot of this is just, for example, confirming. You can see here on the first part here, the plaintiffs are citizens and residents of Morgan County, Tennessee. It's sort of just confirming that this is where this all took place. Moving along, the second point here, on or about December 5th, 2021, Mr. Stefan Suto, my grandfather, was located at his home in Morgan County, Tennessee, and he was feeling ill and had a fever. On point number 3, on or about December 5th, 2021, Carrie Madej insisted that she come to the house and administer treatment. This is another fact that I should bring up. It was never anybody in the family's idea to have Dr. Madej come administer treatment to the house. It was Dr. Madej who, upon hearing of the family being ill, she insisted that she come to the house and give treatment. So, moving along here, part number 4, on or about December 5th, 2021, Carrie Madej entered the residence and directly administered treatment without taking any medical history, medical treatment, laboratory results, and failed to take a medical history on any patient. Pointer number 5 here, on or about December 5th, 2021, Carrie Madej directly administered to Stefan Suto a solution of 21 mils of 3% hydrogen peroxide and 0.5 mils of distilled water that was placed in a nebulizer to create an inhalable mist. This is a small typo in the lawsuit. The formula is actually 2 mils of 3% hydrogen peroxide and 0.5 mils of distilled water. So this is just a small typo. On point number 6 here, on or about December 5th, 2021, Carrie Madej directly administered to Stefan Suto, Steve Benoon, and Yana Sitova Benoon an intravenous injection of 500 milliliters of dextrose with 21 milliliters of 3% hydrogen peroxide. The lawsuit continues to go on, saying that Mr. Stefan Suto, my grandfather, started to react adversely and experienced a rapid decline in health as a result of what Dr. Madej gave him. You can also see here on the 8th pointer that Stephen Ben-Nun and my mother, Yana Satova Ben-Nun, informed Carrie Madej that Stefan Suto's health was rapidly declining and requested further medical treatment, and that Carrie Madej refused. And it just keeps going on and on. Pointer number 9, Stefan Suto passed away on December 23rd, 2021. Stephen Ben-Nun and Yana Satova Ben-Nun continue to suffer from the side effects of the harmful injections that they received on December 5th, 2021. Carrie Madej does not have a Tennessee medical license, and yet she practiced medicine in the state of Tennessee. The plaintiffs would aver that the defendant failed to provide them with basic, appropriate, and necessary medical care and supervision. I particularly want to highlight this point, this pointer number 13 here, that the plaintiffs would further avert that Carrie Madej is guilty of specific torts of negligence, outrageous conduct, and negligent and intentional infliction of emotional distress. You can see the next couple of points here are mainly just legal things. Pointer number 14, I will point this out, that part of the evidence in the lawsuit is an affidavit by a physician named Sal A. Dialora, and this physician wrote a report, and we will be going through that report in another video. It is very much worth going through, so I look forward to looking at this and going through this with all of you on a future video, because it is pretty damning against Dr. Madej. Pointer number 17 here, the plaintiffs would further aver that the conduct of Carrie Madej was so reckless and grossly negligent that it gives rise to a claim for punitive damages. And then right here as well, pointer number 18, the plaintiffs would further aver that as a direct and proximate result of the above stated actions of Carrie Madej, the plaintiffs have suffered severe and catastrophic injuries, including but not limited to loss of life, physical pain, and emotional suffering. The entirety of this lawsuit will be in the description below for your convenience. And then the rest of the lawsuit, aside from these 4 pages, which I would consider the main part of it, is basically affidavits and certificates of good faith. Before I continue with some more information in this lawsuit that also addresses another claim that Dr. Madej made on the podcast she was recently on, it is important to state, and it is right here, that Dr. Madej was found liable in a court of law for my grandfather's death. As you can see here, the default judgment is right here, the order. The matter came before the judge, Judge Michael Pemberton, on 11th of August, 2023. And you can see here that after reviewing the file and hearing arguments of counsel, it was determined that the defendant, Carrie Madej, had not filed an answer to the complaint, and as such, the plaintiff's motion for default judgment is granted. You can see here in the judge's handwriting that on August 11, 2023, he scheduled a hearing to determine damages, and it was set for December 13, 2023 at 9 a.m. in Wartburg, Tennessee in the Morgan County Circuit Courtroom at the Morgan County Courthouse. This hearing did take place. I was present as well, and my stepfather was there, and my mother was there, as well as my little sister. And in short, the determination for the damages that should be awarded in this case was delayed at this hearing, and as of the date of this video being uploaded, we are still awaiting the judge's determination on the damages that should be awarded as a result of this lawsuit against Carrie Madej. The reason that a default judgment ended up being the way this lawsuit went is because Dr. Madej, instead of deciding to retain legal counsel, she decided to join the sovereign citizen movement. Any normal person understands that when you are served papers for a lawsuit, you get an attorney and you defend yourself. Instead, Dr. Madej decided to not get an attorney and align herself with a movement that ranges from eccentric personalities, let's put it this way, who will take parking tickets to appeals courts, to dangerous people who commit violent felonies and think that they are above the law. If there is one main takeaway that I want you to get from this video, It is the fact that Carrie Madej causing my grandfather's death is not a matter of opinion, it is a legally backed fact. In criminal cases, a person is found guilty, and in a civil case, a person is found liable. Carrie Madej was found liable for my grandfather's death. Not retaining an attorney is not a defense. It is clear that Dr. Madej thinks that she is above the law, and she would go on, as you can see here, to write this absolutely absurd letter to our attorney, saying that she is a daughter of God, of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and all this sovereign citizen nonsense. As you can see, she writes to our attorney, Dale Cantrell, saying that she is some type of beneficiary and that that she's not who she says she is. I don't even understand this because it makes absolutely no sense. Our attorney told us that in his over 20 years of practice, he's never received a letter like this. Nonetheless, Dr. Madej's letter will also be included in the description, so you can marvel at the absurdity of it. Before I conclude this video, I want to bring your attention back to the lawsuit again. As you can see, she was given the lawsuit to all of these addresses of hers, all via certified mail, and you can see that this was done on November 11th, 2022. And as you can see here is the affidavit of another private investigator who was the first one to serve Carrie Madej the papers in the lawsuit. Basically what this is saying that she received the lawsuit. I bring this up because I want to really highlight the date here, November 13, 2022. I bring this up because Dr. Madej made the claim that her license was not taken away from her and that it was voluntarily surrendered. And this is true. This is the case. Dr. Madej voluntarily surrendered her medical license. However, why did she voluntarily surrender her medical license? Why, as a physician, would she want to give up her medical license? It makes no sense. You work your whole life to get this license. You get educated to become a doctor and to get into practice. That's why you get a medical license. And she decides to just completely and suddenly throw away her medical license to become a sovereign citizen? The reason that Dr. Madej decided to get rid of her medical license is because she was under investigation by the Georgia Medical Board after our family made a complaint to the Georgia Medical Board in May of 2022 against her. Unfortunately, the Georgia Medical Board is not allowed to disclose whether a physician was under investigation or not, which is why I point out the dates here. As you can see here in the lawsuit, November 13, 2022, is when Dr. Madej first received the notice that she was being sued. And of course, this is when we would also, around this time, present the Georgia Medical Board with this lawsuit. And then only 2 months later, Dr. Madej decides to surrender her medical license on January 6, 2023. The timing is awfully close. This is because Dr. Madej did not want her actions to be publicly disciplined by the Georgia Medical Board. So basically, what I'm presenting to you here is what seems more likely. Dr. Madej works her whole life to get a medical license and then suddenly decides to drop it because she became enlightened by a sovereign citizen movement, or she was under investigation by the Georgia Medical Board and was being sued, so she decided to quickly give up her license so that there would be no public record or public disciplinary record on her license. That concludes this video for now. As I mentioned, the lawsuit, the default judgments, and all of the other documentation that I've shown in this video will be linked in the description below. Please be aware that not in the main part of the lawsuit, but in the summary that was written by our attorney, there are a couple of small errors that have since been corrected. The first being the typo of the nebulization dosage. It was not 21 milliliters of peroxide in the nebulizer. That was only in the IV. And for the nebulizer, it was 2 milliliters of peroxide. There also is a claim in there that my grandfather had a history of chronic renal failure. This has since been corrected on the record in the courtroom with the evidence that was given to the judge. My grandfather did not have a history of chronic renal failure. In future videos, I will even be mentioning some further evidence, such as a forensic autopsy that was done on my grandfather's body by a pathologist named Dr. Daniel Schultz, where he explicitly ruled out any comorbidities whatsoever in my grandfather's death, and he placed full blame on Dr. Carrie Madej and the 2 Florida physicians who also killed my grandfather. I will be looking to disclose as much evidence as I possibly can. However, as I mentioned in the previous video of mine, the family is still holding on that this case might be given justice. So obviously, I'm not going to show every piece of information that I have, but I will be doing my very best to make sure that this is given full clarity in the public space. I'm Ethan Suto. Please stay tuned, share this video, and I will be back soon with more videos. Thank you.